After stepping on a landmine in the desert, Sergeant Mike Stevens learns help will arrive in 56 hours. Alone and with limited supplies, he will have to figure out how to survive hunger, thirst, and the dangers of the desert. That's why today, surviving the desert. If you enjoy the videos, support the channel by liking, subscribing, and enabling notifications. It's free and it really helps me keep growing. Now let's get started. This is about two soldiers, Mike and Tommy, on a desert mission. Their goal is to shoot a suspected terrorist from afar. Soon after, they see a convoy arrive with a group of people, including an older man in a suit. Tommy is sure that this is the man they were looking for, while Mike has his doubts since the color of his vehicle doesn't match the one they had described. Also, his beard and hair differ from the identification photo. Mike grows more doubtful when he sees a young man and woman exit the cars, realizing the gathering is a wedding. They report to base but are told to continue the mission. Most likely, the young man getting married is a terrorist too, since terrorists also seek love. As Tommy pressures him, Mike waits for a clear shot to avoid harming anyone but the target. But at this moment, one of the wedding bodyguards notices his presence and they proceed to shoot at him. That's how the chase starts. Mike and Tommy, at a disadvantage on foot, choose to hide. But this plan doesn't work out as well as they expected. Our protagonists are cornered and nearly hopeless until a sandstorm forces their pursuers to retreat and saves them. Here, Mike and Tommy are instructed to walk west toward the nearest town, which is about 6 hours away. When the storm ends and the sand has cleared, the soldiers talk about Tommy's wife, his son Jake, and a bit about Mike's girlfriend, whom for some reason he hasn't dared to propose to. Although it's actually Tommy who carries the whole conversation because Mike is a man of few words, even though they've been friends for a long time. Mike was listening to Tommy when the wind tossed a red aluminum sign with a skull at his feet. There, Tommy tells him that it's just an intimidation trick, and that the best thing to do is to keep walking until they reach the town. But Mike, still unconvinced, reminds his friend that the place has been a war zone for 40 years. There are over 30 million landmines. Anyway, their only alternative is to turn back and wander aimlessly through the desert, not knowing when or where they'll find traces of civilization. So they decide to keep going. Mike finds a toy soldier in the sand as Tommy, a few steps ahead, begins hallucinating from thirst and exhaustion. At this moment, Mike notices a trail of footprints in the sand that move in a zigzag pattern. But before he can warn his companion, Mike He runs to help his friend, but as he gets closer, he realizes he has also stepped on a mine. After the explosion, sand settles. Mike sees his friend has lost both legs. Tommy screams uncontrollably as Mike begs him to calm down, needing him to crawl to the radio and call for help. However, the man's pain is too much and he can't regain his composure. Mike appeals to his emotions, reminding him Jake is waiting for his daily call at home. Tommy musters the will to inject him with morphine and grabs the radio from his backpack. But his agony is such that he can't even remember how to use it. By this point, Mike's urgency to help his friend makes him decide to take his foot off the mine after all time may have rusted and disabled it. But Tommy isn't willing to risk his companion's life, so he pulls his pistol from one of his pockets and shoots himself in the head. Now, free from the pressure of saving Tommy, Mike kneels to stick a knife into the sand and see if he's really standing on a mine. After checking his situation, he uses his bootlace and a small hatchet to make a hook so he can reach the radio in his friend's backpack. After several attempts and a close call, Mike grabs the radio only to find it has no batteries. And the only pair is in one of Tommy's pockets. But don't worry, Mike has a solar charger and just needs to wait a few hours. While he waits, our protagonist decides to take inventory of his resources, which includes some weapons, a medical kit, and an emergency flare. After a few hours, the radio is charged. The soldier quickly contacts his base to report his friend's loss and his risky situation. Mike starts to lose hope when his captain, showing total indifference, reminds him he failed to assassinate the terrorist. And he explains to him that no support team can be sent. But luckily, a convoy is scheduled to pass near your location in 52 hours. Although, the captain knows that 52 hours is a long time, and he explains to him that there is a 7% chance that the mine is no longer working. His best advice is to use the Shuma maneuver, which is simply digging a trench in the sand. Lift the sole as much as possible from the upper part of the shoe, and to hell with the Schumann maneuver. He chooses to wait 52 hours alone without water in enemy territory. As if that wasn't enough, at this moment Mike realizes that a new sandstorm is approaching, so he immediately kneels down again. He packs his gear, placing his rifle and knife on either side to anchor himself in the sand. Using all his willpower, he fights to keep the wind from pushing his foot off the mine. After the storm, our protagonist discovers Tommy's corpse beside him. He takes batteries from his companion's bag to use in the radio, but he forgets to secure it, and the wind blows it meters away. As time goes by, a local man appears on the dune and approaches Mike in a zigzag. Since he speaks some English, our protagonist asks him for water and help with his radio. The man suggests the protagonist join his family. Mike explains his situation, but it's pointless because the man insists the soldier must act next. Ultimately, the man takes Mike's canteen but doesn't bring him the radio. A few hours later, as Mike prepares to drink his own urine, a girl he believes is the daughter of his earlier visitor. She approaches him with a full canteen. Mike thanks her for the water, and she decides to show him one of her toys, a little plastic soldier. He gives the girl the little soldier he found with Tommy and asks her to help recover his radio. But the little girl doesn't seem to understand him, so Mike gets frustrated and yells at her, causing her to leave. When night falls, our protagonist improvises a campfire and starts checking his phone. He watches a video Jenny made to comfort him during hard times. While Mike is distracted by his phone, some animals approach. When he shoots, one steps wrong and triggers a mine, which scares off the whole pack. And that's how he manages to survive the night. In the morning, the local man returns and insists on taking the next step. He asks about his life and moves the radio closer before leaving. He puts batteries in the radio and tries to contact his base, but no one answers. At that moment, the local man returns just to repeat his message to him: become a free man. A few hours after the local man leaves, Mike begins hallucinating. He hears voices from his past, hospital machines, and even sees his friend Tommy. Mike imagines conversations with his friend until night falls and the animals return. But this time, they manage to reach him and bite his legs. Mike musters the strength to fight the animals. Thanks to remembering Jenny and the day he met her, he was at a bar with Tommy. There, Jenny works as a waitress, and when 4 decorated Marines started harassing her, Mike immediately came to her defense. Thus, our protagonist survives his second night, and the base contacts him the next day. Just tell him there's a delay and the convoy will take 17 more hours. Knowing he likely won't survive, they tell him they found his girlfriend and connect them. He uses this chance to apologize for all his mistakes. Now that he has apologized, Mike's strength runs out, and just as he's about to fall, the local man stops him. That's when he tells Mike his story. He and his daughter used to dig up mines, store them in cans, and sell them. But one day, an accident caused an explosion that cost him a leg and his daughter's life. Though he never forgot his loss, the man rebuilt his life. He remarried and had more children, but no more daughters. Before leaving, the man tells Mike he's lucky and must find his freedom. As he watches him leave, Mike catches a final glimpse of the girl approaching her father before she vanishes seconds later. Once he is alone, Mike's hallucinations get worse and he begins to recall his entire life, his childhood with his disgusting, abusive father, the moment he meets Jenny and his mother's illness. At that moment, Tommy warns him the convoy is approaching, but if he can't get their attention, will they leave without him? By now, we've realized nothing in this man's journey is easy, and it turns out that the night he fought the animals, he threw away the emergency flare. So Mike leans as far as he can to reach it, and just when he's about to get it, here our protagonist recalls leaving Jenny for war, which gives him the strength to grab his rifle and shoot every single man who was attacking him. Well, almost all of them, because one is still standing and Mike is out of ammo. But when the man approaches him, he realizes that it's his own father. At this moment, he recalls his last words to his mother, when she told him to move on and let go of her and his grudges. So he lowers the gun, faces his father, and hugs him. And finally, Mike is a free man, ready to take the next step. Mike throws himself to the ground, but when he lifts his boot from the sand, nothing happens. Surprised, he digs up the object he stepped on, only to find it's an aluminum can. With a toy soldier inside, Mike bursts out laughing, grabs the flare, and gets ready to start his new life. This was surviving the desert. Don't forget to like, comment about what other movies you want to see on the channel, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next videos.